Hey and welcome to the channel. Welcome back if you've been here before. In today's pick a card reading, we're going to explore how to bring peace to your current situation. So whether you're dealing with conflict, stress or uncertainty, these messages will help you navigate towards some tranquility. As usual, we have our 3 piles of cards laid out, each with their own unique energy and message. Take a moment to connect with your intuition and choose the pile that resonates with you most. So group number 1, we have the Muse of Voices. Group number 2, we have Temperance. And group number 3, we have the Knight of Emotions. Trust that the cards you pick hold the answers that you're looking for. You'll find the link to your reading in the description box below. So let's begin and find the peace you deserve. Hey group number 1 and welcome to your reading. So let's start off with the first card that you were drawn to that brought you to this reading, which is the Muse of Voices. And this is in the placement of what is causing the disruption currently in your life and this situation. And the Muse of Voices is all about clarity, it's about speaking your truth. And it's also about taking leadership on these matters. So I feel like what could be causing or the need in this situation is for you to maybe speak out and speak your truth. Maybe there's some fear around that, about the after effects of what actually being honest could bring. Because at the minute what I'm seeing is we see these kind of crackling thunderstorms, and there's 2 women here who are, the dresses are kind of blown in the wind, and it feels chaotic and it feels messy, and it feels like there could be a lot of actually fighting maybe for some of you, like verbal arguments, but kind of at the root of that, even in those arguments, maybe a real truth isn't being faced, and that's why this conflict continues to maybe repeat, or you have that sense of going round in circles. And like I say, the Muse of Voices, like in a traditional deck, this is the King of Swords. So it's all about cutting to the truth and not shying away from the truth, and also taking leadership on that matter. And what I feel like is that even if there's resistance on you having to be the one to maybe have that difficult conversation or take action in some way as well, it could be, that aligns with your truth and aligns with what you feel and what you believe in some ways as well, and that you're maybe waiting on other people, another person, or more than one person, so whatever applies to your situation. But it's actually going to have to be you in this situation who takes the lead on these matters and kind of does what needs to be done, or says those words that need to be spoken to kind of cut through this conflict that you're currently experiencing. We've also got the Moon here, which is very present, and this brings me back to just what can be, the Moon can signify insecurities, hidden truths again, and I feel like that's a message that brings with this, which is adding to, I'm hearing almost like the bad weather in the situation, so the rain and the thunderclouds, but it's like on an emotional level that I'm feeling, and the kind of lack of clarity that you're currently experiencing, and just that real sense of disruption, like you would have feeling in, like you can't see clearly because the thunderclouds and the rain, so to speak, like metaphorically. And then the Moon here is, it's bringing up insecurities in yourself and maybe others as well. Like that's what this situation is about. Like maybe the truth is that there's kind of a deep insecurity here in yourself or in others around you, and that's the real issue, sort of not what's being argued about or not what's on the surface, but look to what's on a deeper level. And I feel like this needs to be spoken in order to be healed. Because the second card that we have is the Awakening, and this is in the position of how can you address this disruption. So again, we spoke about speaking out, but the Awakening card is all about holding true to yourself. So your vision, your soul, what your soul desires, what your soul needs. It can also be a lot, this card in this deck, so this is the Muse Tarot deck that I'm using, and it's a lot about self-acceptance as well. So maybe somewhere along the line there's a need for forgiveness. This could be with you or with the other person. It can often talk about self-forgiveness. So if you feel like you have made a mistake somewhere along the line and you've been really harsh on yourself, and this is kind of fed into the disruption between you and this relationship or situation. But there's a clear message here. This is a major arcana, but that it's about, by speaking this truth, it really aligns with it's about being true to yourself as well. And this kind of isn't going away, and I don't want you to sacrifice yourself and your needs and what your soul needs to align with by trying to jump over this situation, bypass it. Maybe someone's hurt you and you're trying to get over it, but you find that you're not able to, because your soul kind of needs more from this situation, more resolution. So what is your vision of moving forward? What does your soul align with? Ask yourself these questions, and then align that with what truth needs to be spoken, and kind of take steps to. It's all about really being true to yourself. And I feel like the conflict is about maybe that you do just want to bypass a situation, but something deeper within you kind of just won't let this slide, because it would be too much of a sacrifice, too much of a compromise for you to really let this go. So we need to speak our truth. It doesn't mean that we have to cut off people in our lives even, or end a situation. A lot of people kind of believe that if we speak our truth, and that somehow means it has to conclude in an ending. But actually we can still be true to ourselves and speak our truth, and then work on resolutions. But there's something about saying it and speaking out and needing to be heard before we can move on. Because next we have the Page of Voices, and this is in the position of how you can find peace in this situation. And again, voices, this suit is all about speaking out and speaking your truth. And we see here like this person's mind is spinning in some ways, I feel like, and maybe you've got lots of conflicting ideas and feelings. And I feel like it's about striking out, like somehow getting it right in your head, about getting clear first within yourself about what you want and what needs to be said. You know, write this down if you need to get clarity, if you feel like you're going to get a lot of pushback from someone or from a situation. So if it was a work situation, for example, document in what ways of how you feel that you've been wronged, and have dates and dates and days and detailed accounts of actually what's happened before you move forward, and kind of present this to, say, your boss, for example, of a situation that you're trying to resolve. That's just one example for some of you. If it was like a relationship, I mean, you could even do the same thing if you wanted to. Write down actual events that have happened that have felt like have hurt you and compromised you. It's like being analytical about it, like almost taking an approach, like as if you were in, for some of you, maybe actually be in a job, but even if it's loved ones, this is more an emotional situation, still kind of applying that analytical approach, because if you're going to get pushback, then you'll feel like you have the clarity, you feel really strong in that clarity, and you're not going to be gaslit, or you're not going to be pushed around, you know, emotionally in a way to say that that didn't happen, and you know, that's something just that you might feel, where you can say, well, actually it's not just how I feel, this actually did happen. So it's that kind of energy that I'm seeing and feeling. This person looks quite fierce, they look like ready, you know, they've come with their A game. I feel like you've got to get clear, and that's how you're going to find peace in this situation, is getting really strong and clear in what you want to happen and what needs to be said, and then moving forward with that when you approach this person. So don't go towards them from an emotional place, go to them from a head place, if that makes sense. Because next we have the Seven of Voices, more voices. So there's a lot of that group number one. A very strong message for you in this reading today, with there being so many voices in the suit. But this is in the position of what could peace look like. So if you on the other side of this, like what could peace look like in this situation for you? And the Seven of Voices is, it's about being true to yourself and not compromising yourself. Basically, this can be about a card of deception and trickery at times. So maybe this other party, maybe you're already aware of that they have deceptive tactics, like we've spoke about, touched on gaslighting before. And the Seven of Voices is about someone in a situation trying to get away with something. So not facing the truth. For some of you, this could be a situation where something or someone is, you're kind of outright being lied to. For others, it may be that someone is very avoidant and doesn't want to face a situation, is just someone who maybe they're very avoidant of conflict themselves, so you just keep butting heads in a way and never actually getting to the root of the problem, because they are very evasive and elusive and it's hard to pin them down. But I feel like this is you, group number one, and this person. So in this card, the sort of description of this card is that something rises up in this woman here, who we see is holding her gaze steady and strong, and is standing in her power, and is really kind of facing this personal situation, and is saying, no, like this is the reality of the situation. This is how it needs to go, and this is the pathway forward. We see the bridge to the other side, to a lighter energy, a lighter place, a more happy, joyful place, being on the other side of this conflict, essentially. And the only way to do that is kind of standing in your truth, standing in your power. Obviously, we can't make someone or influence them to kind of face their truth or stop being avoidant, but we can, by withdrawing, this kind of engaging in this conflict or whatever you find yourself in now, which isn't being productive, and by setting boundaries and by speaking to your truth, and by saying, no, this is the reality of the situation, this is your way forward, group number one, and this is your way out of this situation to the other side. And it's really essentially, you can, I feel like in this situation, you can, up to a point, not let this person get away with, or people get away with what they're currently doing. And there is a way for you to stand your ground more than maybe where you feel like you have been able to up to this point. Like I say, it's about taking an analytical approach, getting all your ducks in a row, and speaking with clarity and setting boundaries. Now the next card, so we have the Seven of Inspiration, and this is about how you can find patience along the way. So this is what it would look like and what it would take to kind of get to the other side. But in the meantime, the Seven of Inspiration, this is, so what can you start doing immediately? You know, maybe you'll have to build up to having that difficult conversation, or getting those, documenting those events that have happened, for example. But in the meantime, the Seven of Inspiration is all about holding space, so protecting your inner peace, which I feel like is something that you should really focus on and put efforts in. We see actually how hard this person is having to work actually to hold her peace, but it's very, I would say it's very worthwhile, and it's very essential to kind of do this. We see all this lovely, beautiful golden sunset. And this is your personal power, group number one. This is the purity inside of you. It's that good feeling thoughts, that warmth in you as well. It's like all the good stuff. And it's actually as well, it could be like this light represents your inner peace. So whatever's going on around us, there is like a spiritual belief that we always have peace inside of us. There's always a place, like a space inside of us. We see this light I'm really drawn to. We always have peace within us that we can access. And I feel like that's what you can focus on. So if it involves, it may look like meditating. It may look like exercise for you, you know, whatever, you know, walking with intention, walking meditation. But it's about setting some time apart for you to hold this space, putting that effort in, kind of doing the work on that level, and that will serve you so well to be able to move forward where you need to be, group number one. This is also about boundaries. So it's about when someone's or something is trying to push you somewhere that you don't want to go, and feeling that pressure, like as if you're being pushed into backed into a corner kind of feeling, and being put in such a tricky situation that it's somewhere that I feel like that you maybe never thought you would end up, or never wanted to be again. But this is kind of reassuring you that by holding boundaries and carving out that place for inner peace, it's still possible to protect that in your life and within yourself. So this personal situation can't take that from you, group number one. So remember that, and just putting that work and effort into focusing on yourself and protecting that inner peace. Now the final card, we have the Five of Materials, and this is the likely outcome if you were to continue with this intent. So if you were to look to working towards speaking your truth and what the cards have advised so far, and holding your peace, etc. And the Five of Materials, so this is the gateway. So in this deck, the Five of Materials we see here is a gateway to abundance, flow, joy, kind of all the good stuff, peace, clarity within that. And we see someone who is laid outside the gates, curled up in a kind of fearful ball, really. And what they don't realise in this card is that how close they are to this abundant, joyful energy. They're just right outside the gates of it. And that's the message, the final message for you, group number one. and this comes with this message as well, is about worthiness. So it's about self-love, and feeling worthy to have that abundance. The Five of Materials can often be about getting stuck in loss, like when we've been disappointed. So you may be very disappointed about this situation, and that in a way I feel like that you're still resisting that disappointment, maybe by, as long as you continue to fight it and engage in conflict, there is a kind of resistance to being able to accept. You're still fighting in a way, and not facing the disappointment actually that you feel. So if something or someone has actually let you down, and actually by facing the truth of what's happened, if someone has let you down and the situation isn't what it appeared to be, this is the only way through, really. Like I say, it doesn't mean that the situation has to end or has to be resolved if that's the fear. But what it will do by facing the truth of the situation, it will bring you closer to moving into the next phase, moving into finding peace, to finding some kind of resolution, whatever that might look like, and moving into this more joyful, abundant space. So at the minute, I feel like it's a repetition cycle of resistance of the truth, and also with the Five of Materials coming up, it's so easy to do, I mean we all do it, but getting stuck in that kind of loss, lack, disappointment, feeling let down, and then just really feeling like, oh God, like this is, it's all over for me in a way, and to kind of catastrophize certain situations, and of course it is very painful, and I'm not disregarding the kind of the loss and the pain of feeling that disappointment. But with it being a Five of Materials, it always does encourage us to not, like I say, not dwell there and ruminate there, because it'll keep you in a darker place than where you need to be. And if you can actually see how close you are, that you lie right next to this abundance and joy, and a better situation and peace, but there is, like I say, some conversation or truth that needs to be faced in order to realise that. So group number 1, I hope this reading resonated for you. If it did, please do give me a thumbs up, leave any comments in the section down below, and subscribe for all future readings. But wishing you all the best, and like I say, the peace you deserve with this situation. Love and light. Hey group number 2, and welcome to your reading. So let's start off with the card that you were originally drawn to, that brought you to this reading, which is Temperance, Major Arcana. And it's in the placement of what is causing the disruption. And this is very interesting because the Temperance card is actually all about harmony and peace. But what strikes me in this situation, this reading, this placement, is this is also about taking the middle road. So no extremities, it's almost, I feel like in this situation, this reading, what strikes me is that someone or something, so this could be you or it could be someone else in a situation, is kind of frozen and feeling stuck. So we see this girl here, and to me, she strikes me as looking kind of stunned and shocked. She is holding her hands on either side of her face in a kind of, like I say, a stuck and frozen way, like taken aback. And I feel like what's causing the conflict in the situation is that you don't feel like you can make a decision, or someone else is not able to make a decision. And this kind of stuck energy is what is causing the conflict. So you might feel very frustrated with someone else or the situation. So it could be a group of people, or like I said, if it could be a person, and they're like a sort of a deer in the headlights, and this is causing you a lot of frustration, and this is causing conflict. Or it could be that you feel like this, so take what resonates, that you feel fear is what the sensation that I'm getting as well, sort of this panic in the heart space. So anxiety, fear, uncertainty, and that you maybe feel, so that, like I say, take what resonates, you or them. This person feels just very scared to kind of pick a road, make a decision, and maybe feels badgered and backed into a corner about having to make a decision and take a road, and is worried about the results of that. So yeah, there's kind of a blank space a bit in this person, and that frozen fear. Because the next card we have, the Knight of Inspiration. This is how can you address this disruption, and the Knight of Inspiration is all about action. So it is about, we see this horse charging ahead. Inspiration is about passion, creativity. It's about often taking action and thinking later in a way. So it's kind of the opposite of this energy of what I'm feeling, where it's like this person is really caught up in their head. And the Knight of Inspiration, so this is you or the other person. There is an action that needs to be took, basically. And maybe comes with that message as well that you might never be ready. You might never have all the answers that you feel that you need. But some movement forward, whatever that might be, needs to be took to kind of break this spell, break this frozen stuckness. So it would be worth as well, like if you do feel stuck, certain like release exercises as well could be beneficial at this time if it's for you. They're all of there's plenty of videos available about kind of getting in touch with why you feel frozen and why you feel stuck. It's worth reflecting on that, or in meditation and trying to kind of shift that. EFT tapping as well, if anyone's heard of that, that's worth looking up, just to shift energies that do get stuck within us, and can kind of paralyze us. That can be helpful for some of you. If that resonates with you, please kind of investigate and look into videos about that. And it just might help you move more easily into this Knight of Inspiration energies and shift in being able to take action. Now, obviously, if it's the other person who is taking who isn't moving, that's different, and puts you more in a position of kind of having to wait for movement on their side. But understanding what's going on with them and that they're in a state of fear and frozenness may be helpful to you. But there is, like I say, the way to kind of break this spell and shift the energy, there has to be some kind of decision that needs to be made, and some action needs to be took of some kind. And, you know, just kind of going down one route as well doesn't mean that we can't change our minds. That's always worth remembering as well. You know, like sometimes making any movement can be better. It feels like in this case is better than inaction, because there is that sense of being frozen and so stuck. Now the next card we have, the Seven of Emotions, and this is how you can find peace in this situation. And the Seven of Emotions is all about having choices and options. So this kind of feels like that it is just with feeling stuck and trapped. This almost feels like that you are that person who is feeling stuck, because the Seven of Emotions comes to reassure you that you do have choices. There are still options. So again, by choosing one path doesn't mean that you're committed to that forever. If it is the other person, then maybe you can communicate that to them, Or maybe that you have options, as in you don't have to wait around for this person as well. If that situation isn't moving and you can't do anything to influence it anymore, you know, you feel like you've done everything you can to kind of influence the stuckness and there's still no movement, then you have choices and you have options as well, and you can direct your energy elsewhere. So it's about could be about like taking the energy and the effort off waiting for this person to move and make a decision. Or if it's you who needs to make the decision, then I feel like that this card, like I said, comes to reassure you that by making a decision, it doesn't mean that you are committed forever to that all in. There is stuff further down the line that can happen. Maybe broaden out what options and choices that you do have as well. The Seven of Emotions also warns us that you might feel overwhelmed with how many maybe choices that you have, that you think, should I do this or I should do that, and then or this or that, and there's almost too much going on. This also comes with the message that not to get caught up in certain illusions. So maybe some options, if you really dig into them, aren't good for you or aren't as good as they seem to be. So get realistic and get real about what choices that you do have, and what would be the best for you really. But so either way, there comes with, I'm trying to cover every sort of outlook and possibility of this, but it does feel like the overall message is that for you, group number 2, of finding peace is somehow understanding that you've got more choice than what you feel at the moment. Maybe you feel like you only have one choice, and that's not right, and we've always got choice. So just take a step back and try to really assess what would be best for you. So the fourth card, we have what could peace look like in this situation, and we have the World Cosmos. And this is about, so what could peace look like in this situation? And the World Cosmos talks about a cycle ending. So there is the need for change, is what I feel with this card. It's another major arcana. It's directly opposite this Temperance. Maybe this is a reoccurring pattern of getting stuck in a situation, and this lack of action and this paralysis of change, and then that needs to be shifted if possible. But something needs to end and something needs to close out, group number 2. I feel like that's really necessary. And there needs to be a break, like I keep saying in a way, a break in a spell. Something needs to be broken in order to make way for something new. And I feel like it's overdue. It feels very ready that something needs to end. So an old way of being, a situation, a habit, whatever it might be. So it could be this kind of fear, somehow releasing that fear and not coming from a place of fear all the time. Is that what needs to end maybe? Or maybe the situation that doesn't serve you anymore, that's keeping you in this waiting and lockdown energy, which is not healthy and doesn't feel good for anyone in it. Maybe it's that needs to close out. But yeah, there needs to be some movement forward, and something needs to close out and end. The fifth card, so we've got the beautiful Nine of Emotions, which is how can you find peace along the way? So maybe there's something you might need to build up to ending this cycle. There has to be some steps that need to take place. But how can you find peace now, immediately, group number 2? The Nine of Emotions is about, it's really a softer approach to yourself. I feel like it's about not letting your emotions be be dependent on someone else or a situation. It's like reclaiming your power, because with the 9 always comes an element of independence, and it's almost like your joy and your inner peace, your emotional fulfillment. It's about being okay with yourself. So if you're alone, that you can feel good enough about yourself and your situation that you can be at peace and feel emotionally fulfilled, and it's not dependent on someone or something, like an external thing. So it's really about looking inward. We see this person meditating, so again it could be, you know, working on that, getting into a space, a heart space of gratitude. I'm kind of drawn to how many beautiful shells, I think they are, or diamonds, that we see that this in this person, this situation. And it's like you're surrounded by, I see you're surrounded by positive attributes in yourself, actually, is what I'm seeing. This isn't external, this is what's in you. So what gifts that you possess, and maybe somehow you've lost track of what good gifts, like what beautiful gifts that you possess. Somehow that's been given away along the line and been dependent, and maybe that's what's led to this feeling of paralysis, and that you're feeling pressured by a situation to turn up and be a certain way or act a certain way. So there's some reason why, what's behind this stuckness. There's a deeper issue, and a way to find peace and to help yourself kind of immediately is to tap in back to your own emotional fulfillment and look away at the moment from anything external. So that's what I would work on, is if you are waiting on someone or you feel like you can't make a decision, turn inward, take your energy and focus off of that for a bit and turn within and remember who you are and what beautiful gifts that you possess, and try to tap into some kind of emotional fulfillment, group number 2, and that inner peace. Because the final card, we have the likely outcome. So if you're to follow these guidance steps, so to eventually move into some action being made, understanding that you have more choices than maybe what you feel right now, closing out a chapter and focusing on your own internal emotional fulfillment, this will bring justice, which is, this card always looks like to me like it's like this woman here is shedding an old self. So it's a pretty big transformation actually which is possible here, because we have 3 major arcanas in this reading, group number 2. So it feels like it's not just a passing phase of a situation or a small life lesson. This feels to have deeper hooks into habits about really who you are, and kind of changing a repetitive pattern that no longer serves you. It feels like, I said before, like outdated. And with this justice card is like shedding an old skin and being closer to your true self and being more aligned with your path. This is possible. Justice is also about wrongs being righted as well, so a kind of a just outcome actually for you. So however you imagine that, what would bring you peace in this situation, what would that really look like to you? And being kind of committed to closing out a cycle and not going back to this, not laying yourself out to this happening again. But there will be, if you can follow this kind of guidance, group number 2, I see it being an outcome that is favourable to you as well. So actually, you know, the word justice being that you will get your justice. So there is some kind of energy then with that being a, you know, a situation. It feels like that you are maybe being unfairly treated somewhere along the line, perhaps, and that someone is making you wait on them, or alternatively they're kind of backing you into a situation to make you feel like you've only got one choice or the choice of two choices. You know, you can either do this or you can do that, and that's it. And this feels like a lie. There's actually more options out there for you, group number 2. And realizing that will open this situation up and maybe feel like that you can move forward then. So I hope this reading resonated for you, group number 2. If it did, please do give me a thumbs up, leave any comments in the section down below, and subscribe for all future readings. But wishing you all the best with this situation, and I hope that you find the peace you deserve. Love and light. Hey group number 3, and welcome to your reading. So let's start off with the card that you were initially drawn to that brought you to this reading, which is the Knight of Emotions. And this is in the placement of what is causing the disruption. And this is interesting because it's actually this, you know, it's a really beautiful card actually with the Knight of Emotions. It's about wearing your heart on your sleeve. And it has a kind of innocence to it as well. It's with it being a knight, so that's kind of youthful energy. We see this horse who is playing in puddles and kicking up the water and the rain. So something is emotionally, something's being kicked up, I'm seeing within this, and it feels like emotions are running high. Like I said, this card's like emotions are being worn on their sleeve as well. So this could be you, or it could be someone else. It can have that this could be a romantic reading for a lot of you, but for some of you it can, you know, it can apply to any situation. But I'm feeling like the message is that emotions are being kicked up. So it might not necessarily, you know, this disruption might not have very heavy energies around it, but it could be making you feel uncertain, unstable, maybe not anxious about the outcome of a situation. So this could be someone who is coming towards you with an offering as well, with it being the Knight of Emotions. Like they could be coming towards you as being very emotional and wanting this connection with you, and that's making you feel a certain way, like unexpected and disrupted. Or it could be how you are feeling with another person, and it's kicking up a lot of emotions, because right next to it is the Devil. So this brings a kind of heavier energy with it, really. This is the major arcana, because this is in the position of how can you address this disruption. And the Devil is about old habits and toxic behaviors. So maybe when your emotions get stirred up like this, old habits can kick in. So if we, in romantic situation, for example, you know, the incredible anxiety that can come up and the insecurities that can come up when we're actually feeling something strongly. So when we like someone, or say a situation that is emotionally is important to you, let's say it's kicked up something that on the surface, like as itself, is not a bad thing, it's not a negative thing, but I feel like what it has done is stirred up something in you, group number 3. It's like being triggered. So you have been triggered in some way by this situation that is kicking up emotions in you. And all that we can really do when we are triggered is to try and continue the work, really, of you may already have done a lot of work on yourself about old triggers and old habits that no longer serve us, and really kind of seeing them for what they are, that they are triggers, and that maybe to try and see through to the truth of the situation and not to give in to these old habits and trying to manage them in a healthy way and not let them rule us. So have some objectivity about it, try to create some distance and try not to act on them. So if we are feeling incredibly anxious, for example, to try and not give in to that need of having to know all the answers or having to communicate with someone all the time for reassurance, trying to force a situation in some ways. But instead, this is just an example for some of you, but to sit with that anxiety instead, and to do things that make us some self-care, that makes us feel better, be that meditating, be that exercising, be that just carving out some time with friends, family maybe, who have your best interests at heart and can kind of talk you off that ledge and bring you down. So work on that, and that's how you can address this disruption, is by addressing your triggers and by addressing your old habits that no longer serve you, group number 3. Because the third card is, we have, how can I find peace in this situation? And the 8 of inspiration is, it's about things changing quite quickly. So I feel like this is a message that you won't be here for very long. Like, I feel like if you are waiting on news that's, for example, that's making you feel anxious, I feel like actually that news will come in quickly. Lots of your insecurities will be kind of laid to rest. Like, it will be okay if you can just sit with it for a bit, because it's like fast moving energy always with the 8 of inspiration. But it's also about, I see this woman here who, in this particular deck and this particular card, she just looks so determined, and she's just charging ahead and staying aligned. So I feel like it's like making a commitment to yourself as well about what direction that you want to go in, and what outcome do you see being the best in this situation, and kind of reclaiming your power and reclaiming control of the situation, and being like dogged about that, really fierce and determined. We see this sort of hot sun, or a powerful moon, I'm not sure which it is, but looming over, but it feels like it's an intensity that is controlled, and a power. So you can take that anxiety or that trigger, those deep feelings, and you can direct them in a positive and a powerful way, group number 3. So that could I feel like that's the intention that you need to move forward. That's the approach, and that's how you'll find peace, is keep moving forward, just keep doing the steps, keep it moving. Because the 4th card is, we have, what could peace look like in this situation? And this is a beautiful card, emotions again, directly under this Knight of Emotions. And with it being at Ace, so this is the opportunity, group number 3, to do things differently. And it's an opportunity for an emotional new beginning for you. So this is no small feat. Like, I feel like it's presented the situation that you're in feels inherently positive. But it's sometimes it's almost like with the opportunity of a dream coming true, that's when our shadow side can sometimes kick in, and we can resist that because there's a fear of loss in there. And that's when our devil attributes and shadow sides and habits kick in, and self-sabotage can come in. But if you can, like I say, manage it, keep on track, keep doing what, the right thing, which you know how to do that, and stay on top of these triggers, don't react, then this is an opportunity for a whole new emotional beginning, full of, look how blissed out that this person is in this card. They're really kind of luxuriating in the good emotions, in the good feeling thoughts that are here. So she's submerged in this water, and there's a feeling of release and relief, It's an ecstatic feeling of being able to just kind of let go of some of that old baggage. Group number 3, this is a real opportunity to cut some ties and to prove to yourself that you can do things differently. So by putting in that work and being committed, this is the reward of that. So this is the payback, is being able to experience things without the fear, maybe the anxiety, without the insecurities that the devil can bring. By cutting ties, you can open yourself up to a whole new emotional experience. So that's really wonderful to see. And the next card, we have the Queen of Emotions, which is, so how can you find peace along the journey? And I feel like that's also about the Queen of Emotions is able to feel things deeply without being overwhelmed. So essentially, again, like not being triggered, but still being able to feel. So it's not about obviously cutting off from your emotions, and even cutting off from, the negative emotions that you feel. It's feeling those insecurities, those anxieties, those devil energies, and being able to manage those feelings. So not blocking them, but allowing them to instead channel through us. And the Queen of Emotions is a master of her emotions. So by trying to embody that kind of energy, being kinder to yourself, trying to be non-reactive, feeling your feelings, actually trying to feel them instead of distract yourself, for some of you, maybe even with drugs and alcohol as a kind of bandage effect of not wanting to feel some of the feelings that come up. But whatever your way is of like numbing out and avoiding certain things, the Queen of Emotions is able to really sit with her feelings, sit with her emotions, and be okay with that. And she's also generous and kind to herself and to others about the ups and downs of emotions, and to kind of expect that and understand that, just like she's surrounded and within really the ocean and the sea. And those, by going deeper, you avoid the choppiness of the waves as well. So being able to center yourself and emotionally sit in a deeper place, group number 3, that's where you'll find peace along the way, is kind of knowing that you're okay with feeling the feelings, and like I say, not being overwhelmed and not having to react on them and kind of disrupt things really. And then the likely outcome, we've got the beautiful major arcana, the moon. So this is if you're able to kind of, if you feel inspired to follow this guidance, group number 3, about trying to manage these triggers, being dogged about your approach and opening yourself up to this new emotional way of being and this new emotional maturity really, then the moon, what it will do is, so the moon is a beautiful card with a message about trusting your intuition and really about trusting yourself, and being able to, instead of like having to see evidence all the time and in the 3D, it's about being able to trust yourself and that kind of sixth sense. So if something is off at some point, that being able to trust yourself that you'll know. So not having to, constantly chase a situation or constantly analyze, overthink. Like overthinking is the lack of trust. So that really feels like the message is about, it's about trusting yourself, and trusting even whatever happens in this situation, with the choppy waters, the ups and downs, trusting yourself, really trusting your intuition and sitting again in that kind of deeper place, and not having to have reassurance, external reassurance or external evidence and confirmation. A lot of the time, people can do that, look outside of themselves for evidence somehow that they are a good person or worthy of beautiful things, worthy of what they want, worthy of what they deserve, and trust in the process. They're not able to trust the process. For example, that it's like this constant reassurance, and it's just a torment really inside. It's just an emotional torment because that's never ending, and it's never been able to kind of just sit peacefully and having that inner peace of knowing that kind of whatever happens, that you'll be okay and that you'll survive because you're in touch with your inner strength, and trusting a sixth sense as well. So working on trusting, building your intuition, so that little voice inside, the quiet voice that tells you the truth of what's going on in a situation, quieting down enough to be able to hear that voice. Group number 3 is an important message here for you. So quiet these devil noises down by getting in touch with your emotions and actually feeling things and being okay with that. You'll be able to hear this quiet voice of truth and of intuition within you, which is a really powerful skill and tool to have as we move through life. And you'll be able to again give into what you feel in your emotions without the fear and those negative emotions around it. It is a possibility for a new emotional way of being, really. And the moon confirms that here at the end. So exciting reading for you, group number 3. I hope it did resonate with you. If it did, please do give me a thumbs up or leave any comments in the section down below, and subscribe for all future readings. But wishing you all the best with this situation, and wishing you the peace that you deserve. Love and light.